On This Week in Sales, we're going to be taking a look at the counterintuitive science behind why salespeople avoid big opportunities, real-time virtual sales assistants on Zoom calls, the cutest dog in the world, and much, much more. My name is Will Barron, founder of salesman.org, and joining me, the co-host of this show, the sausage to my dog, the golden to my retriever, Victor, sales royalty. Antonio, see, I've ruined this now because I'm gonna pull out the curtain.
Wait.
Pull out the curtain. It's happening. Victor told me before the show he prefers me to call him sales royalty rather than sales legend.
Yeah, I
couldn't
like
quite fit it in real time.
I like royalty better than I told you. Legend just sounds like it was reserved for somebody else. I don't know. And since you're in the UK, I just want to feel a little monarchy in this show. But the whole sausage to the dog, I just have a problem with that one, Will. I don't know why. The golden to my retriever, I like that. Let's keep that in. Let's delete the other one.
It's because I baited you. I baited you with the sausage. You didn't know where I was going.
Yeah, I know where you're going, man.
By the way, it's a callback towards the end of the show. It's a fantastic transition there, Victor.
It was. I kind of wrote it for you. But anyway, Will, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm ready. There's some good news. This is the first week we've had actually interesting news for a little bit of a while. We don't have to bullshit this episode to get our way from one end of it to the other. It's actually going to be fascinating. Victor, how are you? Are you ready to rock and roll?
Man, I'm good to go. Here in the U.S., cool weather is now setting in. Life is a little better because it was miserable for the last 2-3 weeks. A lot of raining in the last 2-3 days. You guys are used to rain. That's your life over there. So, other than that, life is good. Business is good. Yeah, we're good to go.
Good man. Well, let's jump into some sales news. So, DeFi partners lead a $3 million round into sales intelligence platform cover. This article's from TechCrunch.com. And cover, the whole point of the business is to develop and continue developing its real-time sales intelligence platform. The company aims to give sales teams insights relevant to closing the sale as they are meeting with customers. Covers conversational AI software integrates with Zoom and automates part of the sales process to lead more effective conversations. I've got a few quotes here that we can dive into, Victor. The reason I put this one in the doc today is you've been talking about this. I'm not so interested in this. I'm not so keen. I feel like if salespeople are trained appropriately, they don't need necessarily to be prodded and poked one way or the other. It might knock them out of being in the flow of a conversation and really listening, actively listening to a potential customer. But you've put your hand up and said that this could be a useful tool. So going from two sides here, we've got Zoom's CTO, Brendan, and I've cut off his second name, so Brendan someone, I apologize, sir, says, one of the goals of launching the Zoom SDK was to provide developers with the tools that they need to create valuable and engaging experiences for our mutual customers and integrations ecosystem. Coming from the opposite side of this, Zoom, Andrew Levy, CEO, says we are anticipating the knowledge and parsing out key moments to provide leverage to subject matter experts. It's like having a sales assistant with you on a call to handle any issues. Victor, is this what you want to see from technology? Is this what you want to see? Do you want to see salespeople having their hands held by AI when they're on their Zoom meetings?
Well, what's interesting about this article, and we should harken back a little bit to about maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago when we talked about Brainshark. Remember that? Brainshark was recording without people's permission during presentations, right? Mm-hmm. Now, they're integrating with Zoom to actually pull out that conversation. And by the way, this is Gong, or Chorus.ai in disguise, because what they're doing is basically Zoom is recording the calls and then they're going to analyze the conversations and basically mine those conversations.
No, this is in real time. Gong is doing it after the fact, right?
Oh, they're doing this in real time.
This is real time on a Zoom call. You've got essentially text on the screen, you've got icons, you've got direct feedback on the call.
I don't believe it. No.
I'll quote again from the TechCrunch article. They created Cover to be a software tool on top of video conferencing that performs real-time transcription of the conversation and then analysis to put the right content in front of the salesperson at the right time based on customer issues and questions. This means that another sales expert doesn't need to be pulled in or an additional call scheduled to provide answers to questions. So a buyer asks you a question, perhaps you're unsure of it. The answer to the question, hopefully it's like a technical question as opposed to something that the salesperson should know. But perhaps,
By the way, I'm going to argue with this one. I know what this is. I'm pulling the curtain back on this one. And I could be wrong, Will, so I'll qualify that by saying I could be wrong. I doubt it. Because what they're going to do, to be able to do this, well, here, let's go with the ideal version of what they're portending to actually produce. And that is
hold on a second. Don't be saying that they're pretending to produce things when I'm telling you for the first time you're hearing it, a quote and an article on a very well-known blog here.
Okay. Dear TechCrunch, I have to see it to believe it, because what they're trying to tell us. So let's look at this from a how this will change the game of sales if what they're saying is true. Again, I could be totally full of it, but that would mean that as you and I are talking, things have to pop up on the side, right here on the screen, to say Will just said that. Will just say they say this. Now, if Will just said that, say this, I have to actually stop looking at you, multitasking, move over and read that, absorb what I just read, figure out how I'm going to respond to your question, and then look right back at you and have to respond to that question. You're telling me they figured this out? No way. I know what they figured out. They figured out off keywords, what they're going to do is trigger pop-ups, almost like little pop-up boxes.
Yep.
Little keyword, you want to highlight this. He mentioned the competition. Here are 3 things we do different than the competition. And so now, that I believe they can do. I mean, is that really AI? I think that's natural language processing. I don't consider that AI. Yes, it falls under the umbrella of AI, but I think that's more of a natural language processing capability than it is true machine learning. So I'll give them that it'll just off keywords, it'll trigger a certain content to pop up. It'll be interesting. And by the way, this is where marketing plays a good role, and I think sales and marketing can find a nice overlap. Is that if sales and marketing get together and create these pop-up bubbles, they can really work together on the messaging within those bubbles. So
forget marketing. We don't need marketing for this. This is sales enablement. This is sales engineering. I'm just on aircover.ai, the homepage of this organization, and they have what they're calling here in these diagrams battle cards. So when a competitor, for example,
battle cards. You know what I mean? I knew it. Even without looking at it, I told you I knew what they were producing. It's not AI.
When a competitor is mentioned, it gives you, for example, silver bullets, telling you issues with that competitor, where you are stronger, where you're weaker, possible objections, how you can win on pricing. And they're not like paragraphs. It's not a script that you're reading, but they're just prompts to keep things top of mind.
By the way, this is nothing new. This is truly, I saw this 4 or 5 years ago, over in Korea. Literally, this idea of the pop-up boxes came from a company over in Korea, a very large company, who in the medical industry, who was within their call centers, they had all these pop-ups on keywords. Now, what's interesting is that you say marketing is not important. No. Well, let me tell you why. Because the biggest battle we have within a company, I'm going to assume I'm in these companies already, is that marketing and sales don't talk to each other. Marketing says, hey, here's the voice of the customer. And salesperson goes, no, it ain't. This is what we want to push. No, that's not. And so if those two could come together and create those battle cards.
But why does marketing have to be involved in that? What you've just described is sales know the customer's voice, sales know the data, sales know the competitor analysis. Sales should be creating via sales enablement, sales engineering, the content for their own sales team. I don't need a marketer to write some fancy copy around the data that salespeople need to have. I don't need fancy graphics.
I'm fighting for marketing here, because here's where I'm going to explicitly say you're missing the boat. Here's why. Because let's zoom back. When a product is about to be developed, right? A product is about to be developed, what typically happens? Marketing has to do, I'm not talking marketing flash, I'm talking marketing research has to be done to figure out what the customer wants. Product management then decides to build something. Mm-hmm. Product manager then tells salespeople, now go sell what I just built. Now, the marketing research is where you get the voice of the customers, why they would really want to buy it, and some of the key messaging, especially if it's a new product that salespeople truly don't understand. So on new product launches, that's where sales and marketing could really come together.
So this is the issue. That is a incredibly old, outdated way of looking at business. That is how you do business without the internet, right? Without software, without tools.
You're saying,
because what we know now is
marketing is not important.
are making a prediction, right? What you described is a focus group, which is just bullshit anyway. What you just described is a marketer speaking to two potential customers and collating that data and spreading out and writing in what they think is the buyer's language. Us salespeople, Victor, are speaking to customers. I know that my marketing collateral says this, and this. The highest performing salesperson on my team says that's nonsense. What the customer actually wants, or the potential customer wants, is this, and this. I want to not necessarily insulate myself from marketing, but all this wishy-washy, high-level data that they're all collecting, and this is obviously massively subjective. I'm just trying to have an argument with you. But
Totally
that data that they're trying to
totally
collect on a high level,
marketing.
that doesn't relate to the conversations I'm having with individual people.
What do you view marketing as? First of all, focus groups, I don't even want to talk about that because I don't even buy into any of that stuff. Surveys, don't buy into that. Sometimes customers don't even know what they want.
So you just knocked the whole leg away from your conversation.
No. The thing is, let's look at the real process here because, you have very valid points, and that is, the salespeople who are frontline, if we have relationships with customers already, before we, let's say we have products out there, salespeople are talking to the people who know what the hell they want, right? I'm with you on that. They're also telling us, hey, if you had this bell and whistle, I would definitely buy that, right?
So let me just clarify.
I'm agreeing with you on that.
Who has that information?
Sales.
What? So sales.
Sales
has all the practical information, the real information fed back from customers from the actual market, as opposed to what you just said.
But
wait.
Surveys, no, you won't let me finish. You won't let me.
You just said that they're a load of nonsense.
You're behaving like a. By the way, you're behaving like a politician. You're behaving like a politician.
You get the product into the marketplace, but the actual valuable feedback. Forgive me. Am I wrong in what I'm saying here? Maybe I misheard you. I know we're on a Skype connection here. It can be a bit laggy. Is what you're saying that the data from marketing is high level, a lot of it nonsensical, and the data from sales that hopefully gets feedback into marketing
you're not letting me finish.
Data?
I feel like I'm in a political debate here with you. So let me walk through it slowly.
You've just been trumped. That's what just
happened. No. I'm going to walk through it slowly because apparently I need to walk it slowly so you'll understand. Hold on a second.
I've just been trumped.
I know, yeah. No. Salespeople have the frontline data. That you are totally 100% right. But salespeople always bring that back to marketing. Says, hey, or product manager, hey, build this because my customer A will buy it, right? Let's put product management in the middle. Product management goes, well, how big is that potential? Come on, we've all had that discussion as salespeople. Okay, if I build this, how much are they going to buy? Oh, I don't know, but I think they'll buy a lot because they're a good customer. That's the Neanderthal sales guy. So what happens? Hey, let's go to marketing. Let's look at the TAM, right? The total addressable market for this product, start slicing and dicing, looking at data and see. Look at companies, can we actually build something that actually fit and is there enough market size? They go back to product management and says, all right, I think it's a good product to build, but I would also add this and this and this because here's what we also found. True marketing people actually call companies and talk to the customers directly who've bought the product. True marketing. Come back to product management. Product management now has a blend of what salespeople want and what the marketing people have discovered the market wants. That beautiful combination is where they can find that kumbaya moment to come together on an ironically named battle card. They can find peace on a battle card.
Yeah, but what you described is sales enablement, which is the whole genesis of the argument that I described.
By the way,
these battle cards have things like sales objections on. Marketing don't know what objections salespeople are facing. Sales enablement does because that's getting fed back to the enablement team or the engineering team.
Here's what we're going to do. On this podcast, This Week in Sales, go to thisweekinsales.com, and I want you to leave your opinion. Do you think marketing has a pivotal role in shaping the conversations with the customers along with the salesperson? Or is the salesperson just that
but that's
maverick,
a
that lone dog?
Loaded conversation.
Well, you're loading them.
No. You just said, does marketing have a pivotal role in this massive thing? Of course, it has a pivotal role in it.
Okay,
does it have the most important role? No. Salespeople should be feeding back to sales enablement, and that can go up the hierarchy of micro to macro if you want to go kind of use that kind of analogy. All I'm saying, Victor, is that we don't need to be palming off stuff to marketing anymore. Sales is coming to its own.
I disagree. I think marketing has a more prominent role. My one last argument. I have a trigger event. I need a product. Something happens. I need a software product. Now, do I pick up the phone and call a sales guy? Or do I go online and begin to do research that marketing is put up there to begin to understand what's available in the market? Right? And where does that information come from? Yeah, the magical marketing cloud of people who understand what's going on in the market.
Yeah, if you are in a specific part of an industry where you are not pushing, where you're pushing for inbound sales, that works. If you're a consulting company, if I've got a problem and I want a plumber, I'm going to call a plumber. I'm going to go direct to the source. I'm not going to Google how to solve the issue myself.
By
So
the
it
way,
depends on the industry that you're debating on.
But wait a minute.
Straight in one space.
When you call a plumber, though, okay, let's go with the plumbing analogy. So
Yeah.
you got a leak, need a plumber. Where do you go? Online. And what do? You begin reading the reviews. Who put the reviews up there? I'm sure.
The
I'm
customers.
Sure.
Direct feedback.
Direct feedback.
Nothing to do with
But
marketing.
By the way, who's monitoring those reviews to make sure? And then when you got a negative review, who's monitoring those negative reviews? I dare say customer service / marketing might be up to this.
Yeah, but I could also say XYZ / the arguments that I'm trying to portray as well.
And by the way, when negative reviews are put up, who's the person on Twitter who responds?
Customer
Marketing.
service. And I'd put customer service under sales.
Okay, I think that's where we disagree. I would put customer service. Well, I guess customer service does belong under sales, but I wouldn't give the job.
Well,
I
with
would
that
not.
bombshell. Let's move on to the next topic, Victor. I'll take that as a W.
Okay,
the
you
words
take it.
came out of your mouth, not mine.
Okay. All right. Now, Bitcan share price has soared 50% higher in the past 6 months. Get excited. The company with one of the worst names I've ever heard. Shares increased by 50% in the last 6 months. Rise Brock, what a cool name. Rise Brock wrote this. And let me begin by saying sales enablement software developer Bitcan shares have soared over 50% higher. This is the part that killed me. To $1.33. I'm just like, okay, I guess that's a big jump. 60 something cents to that. Okay. Revenues for the year end, look at the interesting revenues for year end June 30th, 2021 were up 42% to $43.9, call it $44 million. However, increased operating expenses meant that the company's net loss increased year on year from 12 to 13 million, almost 14 million. So they're losing money. And just what is your thoughts on that, Will? Here's a company who's growing but losing.
I'll be very blunt, Victor. I'm not clever enough to understand how companies work, especially public traded companies who work at a loss, but then are still giving value to shareholders over time. I just don't understand it. Amazon, clearly, I want to invest in Amazon because it's growing every year, yet it's lost money every year that it's been in existence. Clearly, there's tax reasons and probably countless other reasons to do that. But when these numbers are presented on a screen like this, I don't understand them. I wish I did. I wish I could give you a more useful answer, but I don't understand how companies go back and forth with this kind of stuff.
I think this is a perfect example of eat the fish. A lot of people don't understand eat the fish. So eat the fish basically means is that your investment goes up, but your revenues drop. There's that lump where they're dropping, and then there's an inflection point where they cross, where your revenues now exceed obviously your costs. And I think like even a Tesla, I think is a good example, right? The company, I don't know if they're profitable yet, but I got a feeling in the long run there's going to hit an inflection point where they're going to really just kill the market. I think so. It's a long-term game, short-term losses, I guess. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
Just on that point, just so I understand it, what you're saying is people are making a bet on the company, which is why share price goes up, even though the day-to-day data shows that the revenue and the value is going down. They're they're mining for gold, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, their time horizon is stretched out 3 to 5 years, whatever it may be. But the really big news came a few days prior to the release. This is interesting because it ties back to our previous podcast. Release of the company's results. That's when Big Tin Can announced that it was acquiring U.S.-based sales coaching software developer Brainshark at $86 million. That's a big number. Think about it. Revenues for the year were 43, but yet they bought this company for 86 million. So I thought that was interesting. Brainshark has been around since 1999. I didn't know that. And I thought I'd throw this in there for you, Will, because I didn't realize they employed 180 people. They got big corporate clients. And, did you know they were that big? I didn't know Brainshark was that big.
a lot of these enablement companies are massive. And I'm not commenting on Brainshark specifically because I quite like their website. But you go on some of these companies' websites and it just looks like a mess. And then the content marketing, which is what I'm a specialist in, what I'm interested in, is all over the place. And then you're looking at, well, how does the sales team work? Is it inbound? Just like out of interest, I'm often looking at these kind of things. And you can't find a way to contact a salesperson, even though you typically would need a salesperson to help kind of move the conversation along in these bigger, more complex sales. And then you look, and they've got 300 employees, and they're doing 80 million in revenue, and then they've not made any money in 27 years, but they're worth $5 billion. It blows my mind. There's definitely, I don't know whether it's the bubble effect that clearly we're in right now with sales enablement, CRM technologies, that kind of thing, that everyone's betting on the fact that all these companies, all this technology is the new kind of marketing automation of 10 years ago. So there's just unlimited cash being, because we cover it all the time, companies getting funded when, who am I to say, because I'm no expert in the space, I'm no superstar entrepreneur, but you look at it and you go, well, that looks like a bit of a shitty business that's getting funded, in millions, tens of millions of dollars right off the bat. And so either I just completely don't understand anything, or there's other market factors at play that make this more difficult than just a pleb like me can understand.
Yeah, I mean, no, you bring up a valid point. It has that stench. Maybe stench is too hard of a word. It has that odor. Maybe that's too hard of a word. It has that hint of the dot-com bust, when all these companies were investing in all these internet companies that really didn't have a product or actually had a following. And so a lot of this stuff, I mean, just looking at the plain numbers, they ended the year at 44, still lost money, but yet turned around and bought an $86 million company. And so that, by the way, there's smarter people than us probably going through this. But anyway, let me finish this off. Big Tin Can estimated that the annual recurring revenue for the combined entities would now reach $119 million by the end of fiscal year 22. By comparison, last year they were at $53 million. I think what they're saying is that number we're seeing with the loss was before Brainshark's numbers are thrown into the pot. Now they're throwing that number into the pot, and they're saying, okay, this is going to be good. We're going to make more money next year. So to go from 53 million to 119, that's a doubler right there. That seems quite incredible, but Big Tin Can believes that they can hit that number and setting the expectations high.
I was just trying to Google what the name Big Tin Can means, because it must mean something, right? There's no way that they just came up with 3 random words. Like, are you familiar with the band Real Big Fish, Victor?
A Real Big Fish? No, I'm not that.
Well, they just pulled out three random words from a hat, and that's where their band name come from.
Real Big Fish. Big Tin Can says, hey, dude, where do you live? You go down the street, down the alley there, there's a big tin can. There, just take a right there. Maybe that's how they came up with it.
I've tried to Google it. If anyone knows, please drop us a message over at thisweekinsales.com, because we talk about them all the time, seemingly. That we have no idea what the name means. Okay, well, let's move on to the next topic here. And this is from martechcube.com. Sales enablement platform, HighSpot launches HighSpot Marketplace. Challenger, our friends over at Challenger, our friends over at Corporate Visions, our friends over at Sandler, and 20 more leading sales organizations launch new enablement packages on the HighSpot Marketplace. Jake Braley, VP of Strategic Alliances and Partner Sales over at HighSpot, says, that name is going to trip me up the whole way through this article. Quote, consistent sales rep performance unlocks repeatable revenue growth. Achieving it requires a prescriptive approach to positive behavior change and skill development. In the same way that the App Store lets a user download apps, the HighSpot Marketplace lets you download content and training packages from leading sales methodology firms directly into your HighSpot environment. It's a huge win for sales leaders and sales enablement. Victor, my question for you is, because we've touched on this in the past, right? My question for you is, should these SaaS companies be buying, I don't know if you could buy Challenger or Corporate Visions or Sandler, should they be buying training companies and exclusively having their methodologies baked into their software? Because this seems awesome, and I'm dead excited for HighSpot. I know a couple people over there, and it seemed like they're killing it, right? But this is just another marketplace with all of the same training methodologies on there. It becomes another commodity, and you're still trying to compete with the likes of Salesforce, who've had the App Exchange marketplace there for like a decade, and all these customers are probably on there as well. What's the differentiator with this? Is this a nice thing to talk about, but will probably never get used, or is the true value in having the Challenger Sale methodology built into your CRM platform more natively?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea, right, to have it built in natively. I think a lot of companies are going to want to build their own. Like, for example, well, let's zoom back. I remember when the Challenger Sale came out, a lot of companies adopted the Challenger Sale. So if they're trying to find a way to quickly integrate it now into their platforms, then this would be a perfect place to go to that marketplace and buy it. So I'm with you on that. I think there's going to be, it's flavor of the month, right? Tomorrow they'll look at salesman.org. I said, I want that process, that methodology. But eventually, to your point, Will, is they're going to have to customize a lot of this stuff. That's the feedback I get a lot. All these companies, bar none, all these companies have a general methodology platform, but the real value comes in somebody coming in, or they're having somebody actually refine it to fit them. So they offer a general suit. Somebody has to come in and tailor the suit for the company, or else people are not going to use it. I think it would be interesting to find out what would happen if you tailored something versus if you just got one of these off-the-shelf deals.
So let's flip the table slightly on this, and let's look at it from the perspective of these, what do they call them here? Sales methodology firms, sales training companies, right? Is this short-sighted from their perspective? So over at salesman.org, our training doesn't live anywhere, and I don't give it to anyone. There's everyone knows the people that we partner with have asked us to do courses for them, offered to pay me to do training that they can host publicly on their site. You've told me to do it, Victor, to get some attention and the credibility, and I've held back from doing it just because I want all our content to be exclusive. I want people to have to go to salesman.org to get our training. We can go back and forth on how useful that is and the value of that over time. But is it short-sighted that Challenger, Corporate Vision, Sandler, 20 leading sales organizations are putting their content, I assume, for free or a low cost on platforms like this? Or are they seeing it perhaps as lead generation, as what you just outlined of, hey, people are going to get a taste of it on the HighSpot marketplace, but then they're going to have to hire us to come in, consult, and actually implement it, because you can't do all of this by a software alone?
I believe that. Because what I do with my content is I have a lot of people who've said, hey, I love to put your content on my platform. Mm-hmm. If I don't know them and they don't have a big following, I'm not going to do that. But I will give them a course out of my big library, right? And so I'll give them one course and have at it, go run with it, because I see that as a lead generator. People who are on their platforms say, who is this guy? And they'll drive traffic back to mine. I believe that I'm interested to see what these companies, and I have to look at the website specifically and say, what are they actually selling? Because I think there's something about the commodity piece that you're onto something here, right? There's something that's bothering me there. If I can just download it, and it's just, and I have to see how much is in there per course, right? Did you look at any other courses out of curiosity? Were you able to?
I've got like comped access to most CRMs, but I've not got one to HighSpot, so I couldn't jump into it. But I can investigate it.
Yeah, no. Even I want to look at it to see how much content is really in there. But at the end of the day, maybe they're using that as a way of spreading their message and their methodology. It's like when spin selling first came out, way back when. I'm dating myself.
Yeah, I don't think I was born.
Yeah. You know what? It's things like that, Will. It's things like that. But anyway, so spin selling, and that was a Huthway company, and so that was like 1987. And so when that came out,
I was one.
There you go. You were born. And so, but everybody wanted to use the spin selling, formula or methodology, and it got a great traction. The company built their business around that. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I think HighSpot just wants to make a commission off of everybody, but what is the value for these companies to put their stuff on the platform? Because now you become a commodity. So I'm with you. I hear your concerns that you don't want to commoditize your training platform / program.
Yeah. And look, on the flip side of what I just said, I give away, you ask me a question about one of our frameworks on a podcast or a guest does, or go on someone else's show, I just share everything openly. But there's real value in signing up for SemiSimple Academy and your training as well, Victor, the Sales Velocity Academy, because it's set up there on the screen. It's a curriculum. There's step-by-step. There's other pieces that fit in the puzzle. So I think that there is real value in IP. And all these companies have books anyway that outline the core methodology. So maybe they're just regurgitating a lot of the book content, and then again using it as almost like a loss leader to get the consulting gigs, which I imagine are incredibly lucrative. If you're bringing in Challenger to implement a sales methodology, you're probably talking 6-7 figures for a decent sized organization. So maybe that's what the plan is.
Easy. I mean, I've seen like talking to a company. I won't tell you who it is, but I remember they paid like $1.4 million. $1.4 million, and I saw the training package just so they can use that methodology for the whole company. I'm like, you paid what? And he showed me the binder. He goes, because he says something like, you're holding $1.4 million in your hand, Victor. And I'm like, what? And it was amazing. I mean, and there was, by the way, there were some good case studies in there, some real in-depth case studies that were really good. I don't know if I would have paid $1.4 million, but for a company that large, it was a telecom company, if they get one great sale, they got their money back, so they don't care. So this is, I think you're right. I think this is big money, big play.
Yeah, as I said, we talk about, we can digress from this in a second, but I find it's the space we're in, isn't it? The sales training side of things. So, we act like we know the software side of things inside and out, but this is what we do know, the training side of things. And I find it fascinating that there are now zero barriers to coming up with a slick website, saying you're a sales consultant, sales trainer, however you want to frame it up, having a book that, you could, it's what I've done inadvertently, not on purpose, of interviewing 700-800 people, pulling all these little snippets and going, hey, I think this is a good starting point, but our methodology, we're going to have these steps, we're going to take this away. Moving forward, I think video remote is going to be important, so we'll add these. And so anyone, like a schmuck like me, can come up with a methodology, so other people can as well. 20 years ago, obviously, this is way different. You needed probably an office. You probably needed a way to bring salespeople in or go and visit them. So this is a lot more local than what it is now, pre-internet. But I find it fascinating that there doesn't seem to be an explosion of well-known methodologies hitting the marketplace. But there's lots of sales trainers pitching the same methodologies. So my question is, and I've pondered on this before, Victor, is do we understand the steps of the sales process now? Is there no new IP that's going to come out that's going to, like the Challenger sale, with a ton of research behind it, or Spin Selling had a ton of research behind it as well back in the day? I've read, I've clearly read the book. Is there nothing do we know sales inside and out now? Do we have enough data on it that there isn't going to be a new methodology that's going to come in, sweep the decks and move all the old guard out and usher in a new era of methodology to selling?
If we're going based on the last 5 or 10 years of sales methodologies come out, I don't think anything has really changed, right? I think the last 5-10 years, because there was a pre-internet, that there's a post-internet. We can kind of divide that, and at post-internet, I think all the crevices of sales trading have been kind of discovered. But what does change, and I think this is interesting, and I think like Gartner seems to be, and Corporate Visions also seems to be right there at the forefront, is understanding how the mindset or the psychology of what buyers are looking for, that's changed. And when they can put that inside their sales methodology, that gives it the value. And so I think the psychology side of selling is actually changing. And then adopting your methodology to that is what's really different. But you're absolutely right. And that is, I don't think selling has changed. If we look at the bricks, the big foundational blocks, I don't think it's changed.
The only thing that I can see, and you are sales royalty here, so myself and the audience need to lean on you as opposed to my opinion. But the only thing I've seen change over the past 5 years that I've been running salesman.org and do these interviews is there's now much more of a focus on the buying journey as opposed to the sales cycle. As in, we're now on the coattails of the buyer as they're going through a journey. How can we shape that? How can we nudge them in the right direction? How can we not piss them off by cold calling them day in, day out? Versus 5-6 years ago, it seems like it was a lot more, hey, let's drag the buyer down our funnel and let's see how many of them survive out the other end.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think when I look at today's buyer journey, there's that infinity loop where now we're looking at more of what happens post-sales. Not just referrals and follow-ups, but how do we retain customers? I think that's kind of the big add-on, and even the upselling and the cross-selling piece. But other than that, nothing's changed, right? I mean, even if you look at the tools, the tech stack, I mean, my best analogy is, pre-internet, we used the screwdriver. We just tightened it by hand. Now you got a power tool. All right. Still accomplishes the same thing. Maybe one's more efficient. That's about it. So I think you're right. It hasn't changed. We've become more efficient, more wiser, but hasn't changed.
Yeah, I guess I think you probably hit the nail on the head to continue that analogy, that metaphor. The biggest paradigm change is probably internet companies charging monthly subscriptions rather than one-off costs. So you can't just be a complete arsehole to your customers and just close deals and sod off. You've got to have customer success involved. You've got to go for these longer term deals. So maybe that's changing sales and pushing it into the area that we want it to be, where people should be hopefully are going to be proud of working in sales. You're dragging people, or not dragging people, the opposite of that. You're pulling, nudging, helping people through a complex buying process and then keeping them on board by adding value, as opposed to, again, the old school used car salesperson who's just trying to flog anything to anyone who comes on the lot.
Yeah, as you're talking, you got me to thinking about, where can we improve this? And so I ask your opinion, because one of the areas, I don't know how to do this, but I'm just throwing it out there. If there's a way to get sales training into the head of a salesperson faster, like onboarding, I think that would be an innovative change in selling if we can do that. I don't think we've mastered that yet. How to get people up to speed faster. Any thoughts on that, Will? Like, how would you improve retention and absorption and retention?
I've had venture capital, seed, and angel investors want to meet me to discuss my thoughts to this question, right? Because you need million, 2 million, 5 million to not scratch the surface. I think you could do a pretty good job of it. But in answer to the question, I want to gamify the whole process and turn it literally, you're sat in front of a computer. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to speak into it. We don't need to go down the Siri route of recognizing voices and tonality and that kind of thing. But that would be the holy grail. That would be the end goal. You sit down with a potential customer and you go back and forth. That's the easiest bit to do. It could be like a text-based game adventure, gives you feedback at the end. Your sales manager can see what you've written or see what has been highlighted. And I think I could almost probably build that now with our team. I'd maybe hire another back-end developer. But I don't think that would be, in Seth Godin's language, I don't think that would be remarkable. I think people would go, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. But if you could gamify, literally build a addictive game that is addictive in a positive feedback loop of improving your sales skills of, hey, here's the marketplace. Who would you speak to? And you have your different potential customers. You go on a fake LinkedIn site and they've got the different stats and the different buyer personas, and you got this and you got that, and it's customized for each organization that you sell this product into, so that you are literally prospecting on the gaming platform your ideal customers. So you're doing.
I can visualize feedback. It. I can see it. It's almost like Grand Theft Auto or something. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the exact opposite of Grand Theft Auto. We're not going around, picking up hookers and blowing people up. The exact opposite of that. But there are smaller indie games that do similar kind of things to this. But you start off there. Okay, you start off there, and then it's just the sales process, but condensed. So you don't have to wait next week like you'd have to in the real life, in the real world, for your meeting. You book some meetings. You do the meetings over the next 10 minutes. The meetings are condensed. You have to suss out, whether you need to bring in other people into the sale. There's another decision maker. There's this. It's not that difficult to visualize. And it's lots of it's not AI. There's nothing particularly clever about any of it. It's simple game design of if this and that and these decision trees. Use some clever machine learning or some kind of automation to mix it up and make it more real. But that's what I would develop. That is, if I had unlimited cash, that's what I'd be building right now. And that would be the quickest way to onboard salespeople. Hey, play this game for a couple of hours a day for the next week. Follow some of the other reps within the team, see how they're doing, make some notes, and you can then feed back all the best sales tips, anything that the top reps are saying and doing, and feed that back into it as well. Use automation software, whatever it is. But gamifying the process. I would sit and play People play, Victor, one of the top games on Steam right now, which is a online marketplace of games on the PC, is Goat Simulator.
Okay.
You're a goat.
Okay.
And you wander around doing goat stuff.
I'm working with you here on this one.
That's it. That's the game. There is Farming Simulator. There's lorry simulators. You just drive a lorry and the roads are accurate and you'll have crashes and stuff if you don't do things appropriately. People will play the stupidest things. People will invest hundreds and hundreds of hours into dumb shit if there's that little bit of a feedback loop of you do this, you get this slight reward, you get this slight dopamine hit. And the problem is with sales is everything's so protracted out in the real world of, I want to book this meeting, so I've got to do this, and then this other thing crops up. Our brains aren't capable of linking one thing to another. You make a sale and you've been working on it for 6 months, you celebrate, but your brain doesn't really understand this feedback loop and isn't self-fulfilling. Well, if you can compress all of that in your training process and make it addictive to do the training, because most sales training sucks and it's boring, right? If you can make it addictive via input goes in, output comes out, dopamine spike, carrying going, you'd have a bunch of just killer salespeople in an instant.
Yeah, and I think embedded in everything you just said is frequency, right? How often you get to practice within a short period of time. Because I think sometimes when you don't practice enough within a short period of time, it doesn't really go into the brain, so to speak. I forgot what's the word they use when you have to combine things, concepts, and then really solidify. Consolidation is the word I'm looking for. You by using frequency, like you did a sales pitch within the game. Then 10 minutes later, as you pointed out, you do another presentation, and within the game, you get some immediate feedback, right? You begin to consolidate what works and what doesn't work through the gaming system. And I think it's a great approach. I just don't think like VR is there today.
Don't need VR. Don't need it. It's just dead simple. Lowest common denominator on a screen, mouse pointer. It's got to be fun. It's got to be interesting. And we do some of this over at SemiSimple Academy, like on a super rudimentary level of we've got a flashcard system, which is spaced repetition learning. So as you go through each of the training, there's no quiz at the end. All the content goes into the flashcards, and we use our characters to say, well, here's a scenario Sam walks into, yada, yada, yada. And then you have to recognize or report back on what the ideal outcome is or what you would do in that situation or what the missing steps of the frameworks are. If you get it right, you don't see that flashcard again. If you imagine a big deck of virtual flashcards, I know you know this, but for the audience, it goes to the back and you don't see it for another 3 months. If you get it wrong, you'll see it tomorrow. If you get it wrong, you'll see it later on today. And you're getting that repetition over and over what you need to learn. And the science and all of this is just unequivocal. It's so well studied. But getting into a gaming environment, making something positively addictive is the key, I feel.
I think so. Yeah. Again, the addictive piece is interesting. If you can find one of those, again, I use Grand Theft Auto. What's the most recent game that's out there now? I'm drawing a blank, but where you're actually going around collecting things. I can see this visual simulator, as you pointed out. I actually see them going to LinkedIn.
Victor. Sorry, mate, I've interrupted you there.
Yeah.
All we need to do is we're overcomplicating this. Go back to first principles. Sales training, addictive.
Yeah. How do you make it addictive?
We give salespeople a lecture and then give them some heroin. Lecture, heroin.
I think I want the title of this week in sales podcast to be Goats and Heroin. That's it. I mean, brought to you by Will Barron himself. All right, let's go to the next subject.
Okay, so let's move into some sales training news. So this is an article from phys.org, as in physics.org. Now, I've tried to break this down in the doc. It's still overcomplicated, and so we'll go through this slowly, but I think there's real value in this article, in this data, in this science, because it's actual science that sales training has been, or assumptions have been tested on the back of, as opposed to the current kind of, I know corporate visions do a lot of research, but a lot of sales training methodologies is just, hey, I did this once and it worked, and then 1,000 people go and do it and copy it and ruin whatever tip or hack or trick was done in the first place. So this is from phys.org, entitled Why Salespeople Avoid Big Whale Sales Opportunities. Researchers published a new paper in the Journal of Marketing that tests a framework of salespeople's decision-making when prospecting. The study is entitled Why Salespeople Avoid Big Whale Sales Opportunities. Now, the finding is contrary to the intuition that salespeople gravitate towards big whale sales opportunities. In reality, salespeople avoid them. So counterintuitive, right? This new study integrates contingent decision-making and conservation of resources theories. You may be more familiar with these theories than me. I've definitely no idea what they mean. To develop and test a framework of salespeople's decision-making while prospecting. The researchers make 3 contributions to the marketing literature. They have 3 discoveries from this training, from this research, essentially. First, salespeople conduct rational benefit cost analysis to decide what opportunity to pursue. They shed light on the tension underlying such decisions and the challenges of the intuition of the salesperson to gravitate towards large opportunities. Essentially, salespeople go, that's a big opportunity. That might be a lot of work. I don't know if I'm motivated to do that. I'm not doing it. Whereas you'd think that salespeople would go, friggin' hell, look at the size of the opportunity. I'm all over it. I'm going to look like the hero. So that was the first, what they found. The first element that they found was counterintuitive. Does that surprise you, Victor?
That does not surprise me so far. But I love the way they try to describe the benefits can be intrinsic and extrinsic, while the costs can be explicit, i.e. resources expended, time and effort, or implicit opportunity costs. It's interesting.
It surprised me.
But it's not surprising.
Surprises me. Yeah, I've never turned down a large deal on the fact that, and to the point of the research, I will do what they're describing here of work out, even if it's subconsciously, the amount of effort I've got to put in to the resources to get back out the other side. But I've basically, when I was in medical device sales, I would hit my quota every year, typically from smashing one large deal and doing the usual stuff that would come in. Which would drive my sales managers mad because I'd be like down all year, not bottom, but middle of the leaderboard. And I'd shoot back up towards the end of the year whenever the deal would come in, and they'd be stressing, they'd be on my back the whole year. Will, is this deal ever going to come in? And I would be lying to their faces with my forecasting just to get them off my back, which obviously then creates a feedback loop of stress within the organization. But I would never shy away from a big deal. So this not shocked, but this did surprise me.
I think when we're looking at, I'll put my corporate hat on. From the corporate side, just like you, man, we were always going out. We want big whales. In fact, we ignored guppies. Like, I don't want the guppy. That's too small. Give me the big one. That's the one. And we tried to get, the low-hanging fruit and some easy deals here and there. But I'm wondering if this study's also talking about, let's put it in the context of salespeople in a, let's say, a broader market it isn't a big, because sometimes you would get a deal be like $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, right? Yep. But maybe some of these guys or gals are seeing on average deals of 10 to 20,000. Then they see a $1 million deal. They're like, that's too big. Mm-hmm. That'll never be for me. I'll never be. Why even try? And I'm wondering if it's the disparity or the gap between the average of what they're used to and this big whale that goes, I don't know if I can do that. I wonder if you know what I mean. We're used to the $1 million deals, yeah.
For sure. So there's definitely like a mindset element to this. I need to publish some of this data. We've had like 2,000 people go through our sales code assessment now. And there's a clear, obvious link between optimists doing larger deal sizes and more revenue a year versus pessimists doing more but smaller deal sizes and overall less revenue. We've got it's now statistically significant, the amount of data that we've got, and it's clear as night and day. So I think you're on something here of mindset, optimism, and that side of things affects us.
I want to highlight something here because I think what you just said is super important. And there was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Martin Seligman who wrote a book years ago called Learned Optimism. And he talked about, very shortly, the explanatory style. It's how you explain things to yourself that determines whether you're an optimist or a pessimist. And that's kind of what you're highlighting here, right? Some people go, yeah. Other people are like, oh. Totally different mindset.
For sure. They've done the best study on optimism and pessimism is they glue a £1 coin, they've done it in the UK, I'm sure they've done it elsewhere, to the floor. And then they just see people walking past it. Optimists will pick it up, pessimists will pick it up. And they'll interview them at the end. And optimists statistically significantly will earn more money. So the people who try to pick up the coin are richer, wealthier, and more happy with the kind of outlook on life.
Yeah, I've seen one with they put a money tree outside. And then, again, the pessimists won't pick out the money from the tree.
Because they're thinking, someone's dropped this, or this is weird, this is some kind of scam. And the optimists go, great.
It takes their dollar pocket. Go ahead.
Okay, so we won't dwell on this because I feel like this is towards the end of the show. This is quite heavy to be kind of running through, but I'll go through the second point here because we've touched on it. Second, the study demonstrates that salespeople use calibration decision-making strategy, i.e., calculating the expecting benefits by accounting for conversion uncertainty for solution selling at the portfolio level. Counterfactual analysis showed that in solution selling, ignoring the calibration effect leads to serious under or overestimation of conversion rates. I think what they're trying to highlight here is salespeople are terrible at predicting whether things are going to come in or not. It's just terrible at forecasting. Anyone in sales management will know that. And my prior anecdote, I used to lie to sales management all the time and tell them things were coming in when I had no idea, just to get them off my back.
Well, I think salespeople are generally optimistic, so you always start seeing the upside of the deal every time.
Yeah, but you don't want to come to your sales manager and be like, yeah, well, I've done a terrible job on all of these leads that have come in. And so, maybe you should just sack me and on the spot. We're never going to go down that route.
By the way, we would only become very pessimistic in the fourth quarter.
Sure.
Because we would try to downgrade the actual expectations of our boss, so they wouldn't give a higher quota the next year. I said, I don't know, fourth quarter's looking a little hard there. I don't know when I might be able to hit that number, but I'm going to do my best.
Yeah, we would do that individually and be like, well, Barry's on that territory and that hospital's killing it, big expansion. Oh, there's nothing going on in my patch. And then damn well that there's 3 new developments and 5 theaters come along.
Total sandbagging. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll wrap up with this. Simulations reveal that when high performers or inexperienced salespeople believe their portfolio magnitude is large and the conversion rate is uncertainty is low, their quota attainment can be improved by as much as 50%. I'll say that again. Simulations reveal that when high performers or inexperienced salespeople believe their portfolio magnitude is large, so the opportunity, I guess, and conversion uncertainty is low, the quota attainment can improve by as much as 50%. So what they're saying here is your view on the marketplace, whether that be true or not, can affect your quota attainment, which is what we've been talking about.
I love the fact that they inserted simulations reveal that when high performers or inexperienced salespeople, because sometimes inexperienced salespeople come in, we've all seen that effect. They should give that an effect, a name. When they don't know any better and they just start killing it. And then when they know too much, they stop killing it.
Yep.
And I think we've talked about this in the past, that they stop listening to the customer, just really stop being empathetic because now they know. And then their numbers start going down. I like that. That's great. I'm actually really dig into this study. So that's a good find, Will.
Sure. Unfortunately, to our previous debate, this is it's been posted on the Journal of Marketing. I don't know if there is a Journal of Selling, so maybe you're onto something. Maybe marketing do control everything. But with that, Victor Antonio, let's move on to Culture Corner. Hopefully, Adam, our wonderful video editor, can throw this picture up on the screen right now, so the audience can see what we're seeing.
Yes, this is Pebbles, my little Dachshund, my blue and tan dachshund with her bike helmet. Will asked me, is the dog going to have a helmet? I took this picture. This is just for you, Will. So I got my electric bike, the Rad Runner 1, super electric bike, promo to Rad Runner. And anyway, Pebble looks really cute in this, man. So she's really cute.
I assume this isn't like a safety device. It's just a cuteness device.
It's a cuteness device. Yeah. It's just decorative. So I bought her a basket with an encasing basket that she can now put her in the basket. So there's no way she can actually jump off the bike. But she seems to love it. She stays really still. I put her in the front basket and her ears fly up as we go fast. It's a beautiful thing, man. But hey, Will, I found this graphic online and I didn't post a graphic. This is what the graphic said. And it said, I want to get your thoughts. 15 years ago, the internet was an escape from the real world. Today, the real world is an escape from the internet. What are your thoughts on that as we close this out?
My thoughts on that are that if you're an idiot, it's true. If you're addicted to the internet, it's true. If you're addicted to unlimited feeds and scrolling and the computer game that I'm going to make to train salespeople in the next 5 years as funding starts to flow our way, Victor, on the back of this amazing show.
All right.
But yeah, if I'll ask your thoughts on this, but that it doesn't, I don't feel like that. I don't feel any relation to that whatsoever. When you said that, like, that's not me. But if the audience were like that, you're describing how I feel right now, then you need to delete Facebook off your phone. Get rid of Twitter, get rid of LinkedIn off your phone. I don't even have an email app on my phone. If I really need to get an email, I'll just go on the browser and go to gmail.com and log in. And it's a pain in the ass to log in because my password is a big mess of numbers and letters. So I've got to use a password manager to get in there. If you feel like the internet is something that needs to be escaped from, that is a prison of your own creation.
Oh, I agree. I was looking up screen time because this really it's a two-part commentary. One is that we're spending too much time with the phone scrolling, as you're saying. You're obviously not one of these people.
I
But there are
have
a lot of
been.
people
Sorry,
yeah.
and just to kind of double down on this point, I have been. I've not got it with me. I've got an endoscope here that I can put on the table, but other than that, I switched to a dumb phone for like a year. Like a crappy, tiny little sliding phone, didn't even have a camera
Right.
on. And the not having a camera was the only reason I went back to a smartphone, because it's a pain in the ass to carry a camera around with you as well. But that's how I beat my internet addiction, and specifically mobile phone addiction. And I've got tons of anecdotes of, like, I've met tons of people just stood in a queue where everyone's on the phone, you're not on a phone, and you end up just chatting to people and making connections and daft
I agree.
stuff like that. I know it sounds like something that you would say as an old man, right? And it's coming from a young, fit, good-looking, in-shape person like myself. But we should be off our phones. I'm going away to the Lake District next week, and there's no phone signal. That's one of the best bits about it. There's no internet connectivity. No point in taking a laptop. We have to literally take DVDs and Blu-rays because you can't even get Netflix, and we just chill for a week. It's
One of the things I think our audience will take away from this podcast is your modesty. I think that's one thing they should definitely take away. Your level of modesty is incredible. It's enviable, actually.
My level of modesty and your like passive aggressiveness. That's what they'll take away.
Okay. Hey, by the way, so here's the interesting stuff. In the U.S., kids between the age of 8 12 spend an average of 46 hours per day looking at screens, while teenagers spend as much as 9 hours, Will. 9 hours. So my comment there that I highlighted from this image I saw was that two things are happening. One is the amount of screen time young people are spending, but also the level of vitriol, or I'll just say contentious arguments online, and there's just the negativity, right? And I bring this to your attention because I went on Twitter just to see if my video was posted correctly, because I like to use that as an outbound, not an inbound type of thing, because I don't like being on Twitter. But I just remember I clicked what's trending, clicked on it, and it was just negative. And I was like, okay, time to leave this thing real quick. And that's kind of why that quote hit me hard. Like, you know what? You got to go back to the real world to escape the internet now, because there's so much negative stuff out there. Except our podcast, of course, which is totally positive.
I don't even watch the news. I will literally avoid
I don't have it.
the news. I've got. If we talked about this before, if it doesn't happen within like one or two people away from me, as in Dunbar's number of we're designed, our brains are built to know 150 people, and we know these individuals via gossip. That's how a tribe, communication across a tribe works. If a global pandemic, COVID is slightly different, but typically if there's something going on and it's on the news and it doesn't affect me or doesn't affect someone that I know, then I don't care. I've got no interest in it. There's other people on the planet who are in better positions to deal with these kind of things than what I am, but I don't consume that. Beef on LinkedIn, all this kind of weird stuff. The problem is it's a great way to drive attention, and it's a great way to make a shit ton of money if you can news hack and create beefs, go back and forth, argue. And, people are probably entertained about me and you debating things, but obviously there's no bad blood here, and we're only I'm a joke about it, but things can get very serious very quick. So I just avoid it all entirely.
I agree. I'm with you. Anyway, I thought it was an interesting quote.
Have you seen what China are doing with kids playing computer games?
No, I have not. What are they doing?
So this is an article from CNN.com. China has barred online games for children under the age of 18 from playing on from weekdays, and limited play to just 3 hours on most weekends. This is because they're so concerned about kids being addicted to screens.
By the way, there's something to it. I mean, I don't agree with the move. Too much social engineering for my own taste, if you know what I mean. But I understand the concern. I don't agree with the tactic.
There's definitely something to this, Victor.
There is.
Creating I'm going to call it positive addictions. That's my new computer game company, right. Positive addictions. If you could create software, the problem is training is typically boring as shit, right? Right. If you could teach people how to play, I know this is musical instruments and things like that are gamified. If you can gamify maths, things that are interesting, and pull people from the lore of Grand Theft Auto and get them into something else that isn't just a load of crap, because most educational games and content, even when I was growing up, were rubbish. You could add real value to the world if you could somehow pull that off.
Yeah, but immediately what came to my mind was that typical newspaper line: if it bleeds, it leads, right?
Sure.
That people don't want good news; people just want the bad stuff. I think with regard to games, I think again, you're right. I mean, it's one of those things where the addiction is there, but it's all negative addiction. That's why I like your positive addiction company name. So go forward, man. Do it, Will. Do it.
I'm literally
positive
gonna ponder
addiction.
This. I'm going to ponder this over the next week. Victor, are we wrapping up there, mate? Anything else to add?
Man, we are good. Let me see. Nothing new. We got. I'll be doing something with Selling Power Magazine, a sales acceleration workshop. I'll give you details. Maybe we can put those in the show notes. But other than that, all is good. How about yourself? Closing out?
Nothing new to add. I think we'll have some things to talk about in the next few weeks. Of some of our listeners are going to be writing some content over at salesman.org, so that is awesome. And I'll plug that again in a few weeks' time or a couple of months' time to keep that cadence up, because I'm happy to promote the audience. I'm happy to get the content, their ideas on our little platform, and hopefully share their ideas and see if we can make them spread. So with that was Sales Royalty, Victor Antonio. My name is Will Barron, founder over at salesman.org, and we'll speak with you again on next week's This Week in Sales.